Keshi, Kotonomotokia. Good morning, brothers and sisters of the world, everyone here. Thank you to the Indigenous peoples of this area for their welcoming of us and of this conference onto their homelands, and for beginning this event, for centering it with the sacred fire, honoring Mother Earth, and recognizing the ancestors, ancient and everlasting, who are always with us and who will guide our conversations and actions over these next days together. I would like to also acknowledge the chiefs and the clan mothers, the wisdom keepers, the sacred bundle holders, the sun dancers, kiva leaders, the leaders of medicine societies, of songs and of ceremonies, peoples of world renewal ceremony. Brothers and sisters of the world, my name is Tia Oros Peters. I'm Shiwi. My people are also known as the Zuni. I also carry another name, Mizgatset, hummingbird, in the shape of a little buckskin doll. I serve as the executive director of the 7th Generation Fund for Indigenous Peoples, which is a 41-year-old Native-created, Native-led, philanthropic, and advocacy organization. We are focused on Indigenous peoples' self-determination, on our empowerment, on our re-indigenization. We are likely one of the oldest such organizations in the world that works within all contexts of the Indigenous experience, in all places of the Indigenous world, grassroots, regionally, nationally, and internationally, including at the United Nations, where we have special consultative status with the Economic and Social Council. Core to our work is the knowledge that effective, sustainable development and actions that take place within our lands and territories, in our nations and in our communities, will only be successful if it emerges from the peoples themselves, from our own peoples, from our people's aspirations, from our methodologies, from our realities, from our dreams. And at the very core, so many times, these grow from the hearts and from the brilliant minds of Indigenous women. Indigenous peoples know the inherent power of Indigenous women, power on our own terms, not of ego or of money, not of hierarchy or oppression, not of aggression or brutality, not of war. Power as an expression of love, power as an expression of peace, of generosity, of reciprocity, power in terms of humility, dignity, honor, and grace, as a reflection of our capacity to heal, as a manifestation of our responsibilities to nurture future generations, to do more than thrive, to do more than hold on to the crevices of existence by our fingernails, to thrive. That's real power. That Indigenous women are the backbones of our nations and the hearts as well, holders of sacred knowledge, transmitters of cultures, of songs, stories, spiritualities, that Indigenous women are connected to the moon and to the tides and to the universe, the caretakers of water, the carriers of new life, possessing the regenerative power and capacity, real power, to imagine, to innovate, to implement dynamic and leading-edge strategies that are rooted, centered in the relationships to land, culture, community, and collective spirit. It is an honor to introduce to you this esteemed, this outstanding panel of Indigenous women leaders for today's plenary about the role of women in the revitalization of Indigenous communities. Our first speaker is Dr. Debra Harris, Kuyui Takata. She is of those people from Pyramid Lake, Nevada, North America. Dr. Harris serves as a lecturer for Gender, Race, and Identity program at the University of Nevada. Dr. Harris' research analyzes the linkages between biotechnology, intellectual property, and globalization in relation to Indigenous peoples' rights. Dr. Harris has authored numerous articles related to the protection of Indigenous peoples' biodiversity and traditional knowledge, including the article Biocolonialism and Indigenous Peoples' Knowledge in United Nations Discourse in 2011. For also the Griffith Law Review entitled Indigenous Peoples and Gene Disputes, the Chicago Kent Law Review. Debra Harris.
「 Pisha uwamwa inamudui. Nuk inaniat quitnap pukut mogotni. My name is Chief Eagle Horsewoman. My given name is Debra Harris. Nukuyui Dakota. I'm a Kiwi eater. Nukuyui Pop. My homeland is a place known as Pyramid Lake, Kuyui Water. I extend my greetings and acknowledge that we are in the ancestors and acknowledge the ancestors and the nations of this region of Great Turtle Island. I also extend my warm, heartfelt greetings to many of the friends, spiritual leaders, ceremony keepers, language keepers, everyone who is here working for the benefit of our future generations. I want to start my talk today at the beginning. That is the beginning of my world, in my homelands in the desert, as described in one of our creation stories. Long ago, the whole world was underwater, except for one mountain. When waves came, they would touch the tails of the birds. The sun said, "I don't like to see water around here. I want it to dry up. And when it dries up, all kinds of animals shall come to the world, and they will use the Numu language." The sun said, "Go to the mountain and stay there. Anything that comes to the world after the drying up of the water shall be a relative." So these are one of our creation stories that tell us about who we are. They remind us that we've been here since the beginning of time. They remind us that the animals were here first, and they're our elder brothers and sisters. Our stories tell us that the people were created after the animals came. We are created in places that provide everything that we need to survive, and not only to survive, but to thrive. Our relationship with Mother Earth is reciprocal, and it's not based on domination or extraction. This is Indigenous knowledge, and it reminds us of who we are, where we belong in the world, deeply and originally Indigenous to our own homelands. The invasion of our lands and genocide of our people was based on the doctrine of Christian discovery. By order of the Spanish Crown and the Vatican in documents such as Dum Diversas on June 18, 1452. This document authorized Alfonso V of Portugal to invade, search out, capture, vanquish, and subdue all Saracens and pagans and any other unbelievers to perpetual slavery. Historian David Stannard writes in his book, American Holocaust, that 60 to 80 million Indigenous peoples were killed at the hands of Columbus and his soldiers. The doctrine of discovery was based on a dehumanized view of non-Christian peoples and was used as justification for their acts of genocide and to dispossess us of our lands and to institute laws and policies that continued to oppress us to this day. In the United States, the U.S. Supreme Court decided in 1823 in the case Johnson v. McIntosh, where Chief Justice John Marshall made a ruling that diminished Indigenous peoples' rights to their own land. And did you know that he had a personal interest in the lands that were under dispute in that case? It's called a conflict of interest. He should have recused himself. And he used the rationale of white superiority and based his decision on the doctrine of Christian discovery in order to justify that decision. These beliefs of racial superiority and Christian domination are embedded in these foundational laws and policies in the United States today. We are experiencing an epidemic of missing and murdered Indigenous women and men. With law enforcement, media, and a justice system that turns a blind eye to any justice for the victims. Mass movements and struggles for justice, such as Idle No More, Standing Rock, the Tar Sands, Kinder Morgan, Mauna Kea, and more, are unresolved in the face of unbridled greed and consumption. Not only have Indigenous peoples' lives been in peril since the invasion, on October 30th, just 2 days ago, the World Wildlife Fund reported that 60% of animals with a backbone, fish, birds, amphibians, reptiles, and mammals, were wiped out by human activity from 1970 to 2014. Indigenous peoples come from matriarchal societies, and we live our lives in accordance with our teachings and values that stand in direct contrast to the West. Indigenous peoples will always be in struggle as long as we continue to exist in these patriarchal systems of domination that perpetuate the colonial legacy. Settler societies must recognize that the land, resources, and wealth enjoyed in colonized lands is derived from the dispossession of land stolen from Indigenous peoples. Our allies and allyship, as we move towards the future, must begin with an honest discussion of these realities and to work to dismantle these systems of domination. We need allies who can vision another way to be human in relationship with all living things. Our future generations are depending on us to never abandon our struggle for true liberation and decolonization. Thank you.
The honor and pleasure of such a panel that you have the privilege, truly privilege, of listening to today is luminaries such as these Indigenous women leaders are not always together to get a chance to share their thoughts and their brilliance with you. So I really appreciate that you're all here and listening so attentively. The next speaker is Naomi Lanoi, who comes from a Maasai community in Kenya, Africa. Naomi's goal is to secure the social inclusion of Indigenous women into empowerment programs and activities. Her current project in Kenya focuses on advocating for effective implementation of constitutional provisions to secure women's land rights. Naomi graduated from James E. Roger College of Law at the University of Arizona with a Master of Legal Studies. She also holds a Master of Business Administration and Strategic Management from Jomo Kenyatta University. She's currently enrolled for a PhD in Gender and Women's Studies at Egerton University. Naomi Lanoi.
I bring greetings from my country, Kenya. I bring greetings from my community, and I bring greetings from my family. I will start off my presentation with a story that will extend to my discussion for today, which is the role of Indigenous women in revitalizing Indigenous communities. You may have read this story, you may have heard about it, but what I know is you've never heard the story from me. Baby giraffes never go to school, but they learn a very important lesson, rather very early in life. A lesson that all of us would do well to remember. The birth of a baby giraffe is a quite earth-shaking event. The baby falls from its mother's womb, some 8 feet above the ground. It shrivels up and lies still too weak to move. The mother giraffe lovingly lowers her neck to smooch the baby giraffe. And then something unbelievable happens. She lifts her long leg and kicks the baby giraffe, sending it flying up in the air and tumbling down on the ground. Ouch. As the baby lies curled up, the mother kicks the baby again and again and again until the baby giraffe, still trembling and tired, pushes its limbs and for the first time learns to stand on its feet. Happy to see the baby standing on its feet, the mother giraffe comes over and gives it yet another kick. The baby giraffe falls one more time, but now quickly recovers before it receives another kick. Mama giraffe is delighted. She knows that her baby has learned an important lesson. Why does the mother giraffe do this? Mama giraffe knows that lions, leopards, and other prey love baby giraffe's meat. So unless baby giraffe quickly learns to stand and run with the pack, it will have no chance of survival. This story resonates with most of our indigenous lives. A life of resilience. Our indigenous mothers understand the level of marginalization in our countries. They love, they give us tough love that help us navigate through the system. They kick us out of our comfort zone to remind us that to survive and succeed, we need to learn to get back on our feet each time we fall. The systems we live in are so discriminative, and we can't just sit and whine. We got to fight. Get up. Stand up. The lion is coming. It's coming for our land. It's coming for our waters. It's coming for our natural resources. And unlike many other communities, the Maasai women are the ones responsible for building and maintaining our houses for our family. And this is symbolic to the critical role they play in giving life to our communities. Houses done by women are done out of love and careful processes of blessings for all its inhabitants. In these houses, we feel safe from wild animals. In these houses, new lives are created. The house is our meeting point for our daily activities. It's where we call home. It's where we call family. And just like they build our houses, they also ensure food security. And according to Food and Agriculture Organization, rural and indigenous women are crucial to reducing poverty, hunger, malnutrition, and to promoting social and economic development. We cannot talk of food security without including indigenous women. They play a critical role in feeding our communities and equally the society. Research shows that African women produce 80% of food in Africa. We therefore have to make their contribution visible towards ensuring gender equality and zero to hunger as aligned in the SDGs. The Maasai women, for example, play a very key role on food systems. They prepare and preserve our food with intricate meshes. We dry our meat to last for many months. A traditional yogurt milk can last for several days. This is adaptive to our livelihoods because these, among many processes, makes it easy for our survival in the arid and semi-arid areas. Our mothers are also our custodian to knowledge and culture. And sometimes I wonder, why are our indigenous cultures termed as primitive and backwards? Yet, our cultures is a cash cow for business for individuals. Culture is now tagged with a price. The more unique the culture, the more prone it is to exploitation. But our women pass and train the kids on our unique cultures through songs and dance, storytelling, and also our adorable beadwork. For outsiders, the elaborate beadwork, which I'm sure is common to all of us, is done by Maasai women. And I wanted to go through the colors, but I'm told my time is running out. Maybe I'll discuss the colors another day. Our women are also land governors and water protectors. Indigenous women all over the world have this special relationship with land and the waters. Land and the waters are our identity. If you ask me where I come from, I'll tell you the land, the territory, and that will make it very easy to identify what part I'm coming from in my community. We breathe life on the land and the waters. Any destruction on the environment is destruction to our wombs. Every mother wish is to give life and bring up their children in a clean environment. Brandy Morin, a Canadian Indigenous woman, says that defending the land, it's taking care of that land and ensuring that those relationships within the land remain consensual. Women possess profound knowledge of their environment and have potential to adapt and build resilience to such risk as climate change. Thank you for listening to me. My sister has told me I can share the colors. You look at me and you see so many colors, but each color has a meaning. And all of them are aligned to the cows, to the cattle, because the cattle are very important to us. Red represents bravery, strength, unity, and the incredible challenges Maasai people face each day. Blue symbolizes energy and the skies from which we get our rain from. Green symbolizes the vegetation from which our animals feed on. Orange symbolizes the gourd from which we store our milk in. White symbolizes milk, and it's a color of hospitality. You come to our home, the first thing we give you is our milk. Yellow symbolizes the sun that enables the growing of plants. And black is the color of people who look after the cattle. Thank you.
Thank you, Naomi. Dr. Manulani Meyer is a Hawaiian scholar practitioner coming home to Oahu after many years in Hilo, Hawaii, in Aotearoa. She's a worldwide Indigenous scholar dedicated to expanding views of knowledge to better address the needs of our time. She earned her doctorate at Harvard in 1998 on the topic of Hawaiian epistemology, philosophy of knowledge, and remains dedicated to its capacity to inspire, to instruct, and to heal. She is active in the food sovereignty, EA Hawaii, and cultural landscaping movements throughout Hawaii, and she's now working to indigenize higher education in the University of Hawaii at West Oahu. Dr. Meyer.
Alana kahi amoy, lana mali e a oia I o. He I o kumu, he I o lau. He I o lono a ke aloha. E ho o ulu mai, e ho o ulu mai. E ho o ulu ai ka velina. A ke aloha, a ke aloha. A ke aloha, au te aroha. Aloha mai kākua pau. Mahalo nui no ko ike nahi nahi. Mahalo nui for the ideas of our panel members today. But before I summarize some of these ideas, I want to let you know that he kupuna kane e kupaya nahi nahi. Uncle Jim, your ideas were very inspiring. They remind me of the beauty of Hawaii. So mahalo nui, very clear, like my Auntie Lynette, my sister Miley right here. You remind me of family. So thank you for bringing that spirit that is vast, infinite, and expansive inside. Thank you. Shelley and the water gang, that ceremony this morning was fantastic. It really set the tone for the energy of this aha. And you see Auntie's eyes? Do you see those eyes? You see, look at her left eye. That is how I felt this morning. So thank you for that ceremony. It was very, very precious. We had the great privilege of listening to actually 3 women today. The clarity of your work here is very obvious. Thank you for your commitment to the love of land and the care of people. That is what indigeneity means to our women and to our people in Hawaii. We have to simplify the complexity of the world today in order to be heard, seen, and understood. And for me, the commitment that you serve to people is that quality. Because indigeneity is not simply a racial discussion, it is a movement of planetary awakening. It is commitment to land and service to people. Oya vale no. The love of land and the care of people is completely present in this woman, Debra. She has been an outspoken advocate against our genetically modified organisms for so long. You have been so present around the world, Debra. So many honor your work and affirm the clarity. But she spends her life reminding us of the context that we are healing in. And that's a commitment. She brought facts to the table. And the table is, we are traumatized. We have been traumatized. And you bring that to us over and over. That's a commitment. And I really thank you for that. Because those facts were hard to hear again. They are. They're hard. But then, you know, we get kicked because we're kind of giraffes. 8 feet. I thought they were making that house so the baby giraffe could fall more, you know what I mean? Yeah, fall softer. That's how we think in Hawaii. Like, just build something so the giraffe can fall, you know? But no, she kicks the baby giraffe even after it's walking because you better get strong now. And that is so true, Naomi, because that is where we are at. We are responsible for our own standing up. And we have been kicked by beloveds that want to help us. But now we are on our own. So I get much from that story. And by the way, from the color blue. Now, Uncle Jim, the color blue is energy. In Hawaii, as with many indigenous people, blue is the ancient color of love. See those friends right there? These friends summarize what Margaret was talking about this morning. Margaret's speech was unbelievably clear, wasn't it? She spoke about food sovereignty, women who plant trees, women who do conflict resolution. Every single one of these slides, these are young professors who are working together at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. They happened to be walking by like beautiful flowers, waving in the wind, and I knew one of them. I said, Mehana, and they all gathered, and I said, I'm gonna take your picture, and those are friends working together in a transdisciplinary way at the University of Hawaii to help us awaken. They are dedicated to the love of land and to the service of people. And this is why these images are here, because they're women. Our women are the strength. The strength is our continuity. And that's my sisters. These are my sisters. That's my twin sister in the hat, in the lei. And they helped me move just recently. And they just came into the house, packed up everything, and in one day helped me move. Isn't that, and so your sisters, if any of you have problems in your family, I beg you to heal now, especially with your siblings and your sisters, because your sisters really are the backbone of ohana, of family. Please heal. And that's my twin sister. Does she look anything like me? No. She's this big, very dark, and she's been my best teacher. Because if you do not love what is completely different from you, what? What am I doing as an educator if I cannot do that? So at 60 years old, we have learned to love what is different and practice that. And that is what women teach me. That is what my siblings teach me. That is the commitment of the color blue, which is our ancient color of love. Blue sky, blue water, love. Love is an energy, love is a force, love is the primal force of our collective emergence. That is from Lee Irwin. I would say it, that aloha is the primal source of our collective emergence. And we mean it. That's the beauty. That is the beauty we as women know of. And that is why that is the picture. That's the beauty that I grew up, Uncle, with, that kind water. That's the water that I grew up with. That's at the muliwai where the fresh meets the salt. Evidently, we are salt and fresh water ourselves. So at the muliwai, it is said that mo'i nanea peopled it with mo'os. Mo'os for us are deities, energy, big lizards. It's old. Our stories are old. And they speak of mo'os. And mo'o for us also is the idea of continuity. And that is a very important one that women offer the world, is the concept of continuity. We hold the life force. We hold the capacity to extend life, to deepen our awareness to life, to link hands, and to animate the implicate order that has never not been present. Never not been present. And the energy of that is love. Love is not the highest value, it is the source of all values. And that's the generosity of the Creator who gave us this capacity to love the beauty of our spaces. So if you don't have a relationship with the outdoor world, please find one. Malokone mavahone, mavahone malokone. What is outside is inside. What is inside is outside. And that is the beauty that I know as a Kanaka wahine of Hawaii Nui Akea. The vastness of Hawaii. Hawaii is no longer a single place. It is a place of devotion to our principles, the idea of beauty, the practice of beauty with each other. Now that's what I've learned from women, and that's what I've learned for the love of land and the service to people. So mahalo e kia kua na kini kua na au makua na kupuna. Thank you for this panel. Thank you for the opportunity